In this world of artificial intelligence, I got to create authentic insights. AI, another way to look at AI, authentic insights. Success is in doing the basics. It's the basics and it's follow up, follow up, follow up. I hate the term closing. We don't close deals. We open relationships. But you know what?
Hi, my name is Will and welcome to today's episode of the Salesman podcast. On today's show, we have Mark Hunter. He's a sales trainer and author, and he helps sellers prospect with integrity and close with confidence. On this episode of the show, we are diving into how to have the best sales year of your entire career. And so with that said, let's jump right into it. Hey, Mark, welcome back to the Salesman podcast.
It's great to be back. Great to see you. Yeah, we're going to have a good time.
Going to have a good time, as we always do. I appreciate you, mate, as always. I appreciate you coming back on the show. I want to start with a somewhat open-ended question here. It's New Year. Everyone's wanting to develop their sales skills. Everyone wants to do better than everyone should want to do better than they did last year, no matter what the performance was, myself included. So, with that said, has there been any major selling shifts or buying shifts that mean we have to do things differently than perhaps we had to do them last year? Or is it, business as usual, and do the fundamentals still all apply?
Okay, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of AI tools. There's a lot of things out there, a lot of cool things. Those are shiny objects, okay? And hey, I want to learn them. I want to understand them. But you know what? Success is in doing the basics. It's the basics and it's follow up, follow up, follow up. What does that mean? It means to stay focused. That means some of those shiny objects are going to stay just there. Shiny objects. I'll tell you what, there's plenty of business out there. But people, we've got to stay focused. And that means follow up, follow up, follow up. So really, you think about it. What's new for 2025? Nothing. It's the same thing. You just keep doing what you're doing.
How long have you been a sales trainer for?
Oh, man, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. And yeah, along the way, I've got caught up in a lot of shiny objects. And there's some great tools out there. Hey, think about this. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, could we have been doing this right now? I'm in Houston, Texas. You were in the UK. We're recording this. And no. So there's a lot of great tools that have come around. There's CRM systems have very much perfected themselves. Salesforce back 15 years ago was this little, what is it? Today, it's the go-to tool. There's so many things out there that work. But here's the whole thing. You can get on the bleeding edge of things and bleed to death. There's no need for us to be on the bleeding edge. Let other people perfect the tool. Let them get it right. And then guess what? We can adopt and we can use it. So that's really my core. That's my core.
Nice. Well, we'll come back to the tools in a second. You said something there that I want to get back into. But the reason I asked the period of time that you've been doing sales training is, has there been a shift in the perhaps literal amount of follow-up that it takes to get deals over the line over the years? I'm assuming it now requires more, I was going to say pressure is the wrong word, but more momentum to get things done. But I'm assuming that. I don't know that to be true.
Oh, yeah. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, it used to be that, okay, we could do 4 or 5 follow-ups and we reach the person. Now it could be 20 and 30. I've had situations where I've gone 40, 50, 60 follow-ups with a major, this is myself, my own business, with a major opportunity to try to get them to acknowledge, to try to have the conversation, to be able to close the deal. Here's the deal regarding follow-ups, and this is what has changed. The follow-up cadence that people are using has to be tailored to the size of the opportunity. And this is one of the big fallacies, because people say, oh, hey, I believe in sales and I'm going to stay with this until it they either buy or die. Okay, you know what? If it's a small opportunity, die, would you? Because you're wasting your time. Okay, I'm just cutting to the chase. I'm only going to stay with that buy or die if it's a big enough opportunity. And this means, so one of the fundamental changes is we have to understand what is the size of the opportunity. Now, it isn't just the size of the opportunity, but what is the potential impact on your business? In other words, it may be a high-profile account that you want to land. So it's large. It's not overly large, but because they're a high-profile, you land them, you're going to get a lot of other players in the space. So that's worthwhile. It may be one that, they're not large today, but they're growing so fast. Could you imagine selling to NVIDIA 20 years ago? Small little account, small little account. But boy, if you had landed them and been able to ride that wagon, ride that train, ooh, that would have been a sweet ride, sweet deal. So pick your horses carefully.
Do you have a systematic approach to identifying what we're talking about here is like key accounts, essentially, or potential key accounts? Do you have a process to identify those key accounts within a CRM? Because I know that when I'm coaching people, typically, not all the time, but typically when people join our training program, the CRM is just the stuff that was handed to them that they've not really kind of dove into it and really understood. And then there's a continuous pressure in most organizations to find that new business and to continue pushing out the outreach. And obviously there's a lot of opportunity in the pipeline to upsell, cross-sell, to kind of build key accounts, to grow them over time. Is there a way, we stay high level with it, but is there a way to identify these accounts that we should be spending more time doing the follow-up within?
Well, yeah, there's two things in your CRM system. There is a way to tag it. You got to tag it. You got to classify it. But then B, there's a really, really sexy tool. It's called a piece of paper. Just write the stupid name of the account down. Okay. Because again, I mean, it's typically, it's not going to be your full pipeline. It's going to be a few accounts that you want to zero in on. But I want to go back to something that you said, looking at the existing pipeline versus chasing the new stuff. We all have far more opportunities. I've been doing this the last couple of weeks myself, looking at stuff in my own pipeline, because there's stuff I'm going back through to find my pipeline, and it's just reaching out, getting a new cadence going, getting going with them. And you're right, because again, this is kind of the shiny object, the new opportunity, the new lead. Boy, we've created all this effort. We've developed all this equity with existing people who know us. Hey, people, let's come back and let's zero in on them. Those are some fun conversations. Those are people who we can be reaching out to and we can be touching and we can exactly upsell, cross-sell them, get the referral. You know what's interesting? The easiest way for us to grow our business is through referrals. And does that mean we got to have people who know us and like us? Yeah, those are probably people in our pipeline. Yeah, that's not a sexy tool. It is sexy because you know what? I get to have a conversation and I get to ask them for referrals. I get to get them thinking about me. They refer me. And you know what? It's cool when new business comes in because a referral is generally one of the easiest types of new customers to close. Oh, by the way, I hate that term closing. I'm sorry, I'm on a rant here. I hate the term closing. We don't close deals. We open relationships. I want you to think about that because what does that do? That fits your pipeline, right? Because that means there's another opportunity there. I'm going to open the relationship. I never let a relationship die. And again, this is what I had to go back into my own pipeline. Wait a minute. You got to practice what you preach, baby. You got to practice. So get back into that pipe and see what's in there.
So let's say we're sat down, we are reviewing our pipeline, we want to score the leads that are in and again, this may be a pen and paper exercise of 9, 7, 3, 4. It may be just a quick overview to kind of get a feel of things. Probably a feel of things is more than myself included, more than the majority of the audience are managing to get stuck into. So that might be a good start point. But if we were to score them, I love the word equity. So how much equity do we have within the account? How much of a relationship do we have with them? And then potential deal size. Is there anything else you would add to those three elements to help score potential new key accounts or big opportunities for the following year?
Yeah. One other piece that I'm looking at is where are they in their industry? Are they an industry leader? Are they an industry follower? And what is their industry doing? Because again, if I can ride the train of a fast growth industry with a fast growth company, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to be taking a look at it. So you can sit there and say, is it totally, can I absolutely be precise? No. Some of it's a little bit of a gut feel because you say, wait a minute, I've got a lot of good expertise in this industry. And these people are an up and comer and this industry is really looking to grow. You know what? I'm going to place a little more emphasis here. That's fine. That's good. This is why many times for many salespeople, you've got to have this conversation with your manager. Because if your manager is just a spreadsheet jockey and all they do is look at the numbers, they're not going to comprehend this. But if you can have that conversation with them, because again, that's going to help you. Because here's the other thing. It is easy for us as salespeople at the beginning of the year to sit there and say, we're only going to chase the whales, those big opportunities. But you know what's funny? We can starve to death waiting to close one of those whales. I've got to have opportunities in my pipeline at all levels. I've got to have some smaller ones that I can close fast. Because you know what? That puts food on the table. That keeps shoes on my kids' feet, okay? It also makes me feel good. It does. It makes me feel good. And it gives me momentum to go chase the big deals. Now, I can't focus only on small deals because I just will exhaust myself and I'll never make my number. So I've got to have that balance. So that's another piece that I'm always looking at my pipe. What's that right balance? Which means I'm looking at what is the sales cycle time it's going to take to close a deal. In other words, if this opportunity is going to take a year to close, I got to make sure that I've got to have some in my pipeline that I can close within a few weeks to just keep myself going.
I think this is for the quota carrying salesperson sanity, but also for leadership sanity. Because I know I was a pain in the ass for every sales manager I ever had, because I'd always hit quota, but it would always be one large deal towards the end of the year. Like clockwork, every single time. I'd have my sales manager on my back, they'd be pestering me, the forecasts would be off, and then I'd smash it with one large deal, and everyone was happy, and everything was forgiven at the end of the year. So being able to communicate that, forecast it, and have that understanding of the pipeline, and be able to articulate it to your sales manager, you're both doing them a favor, but you're also doing yourself a favor by getting them off your back, right?
Yeah, I call that a cardiac cadence. You have a cardiac cadence because, again, what you're doing is you're trying to go for that close for that ultra big deal. And along the way, man, you are giving yourself a heart attack. But, if you close it like you did, you close at the end of the year, you are good. But boy, if you don't close the deal, that's when you get the R out, the resume, and you shop the V's, sorry, going somewhere else.
Yep, and I got sacked from my first sales role, not for lack of trying in that job. And, it was a different problem, but I've been in that situation, as I'm sure some of the audience will as well. I want to come back to sales tools. You mentioned this earlier on, and we can briefly touch on this, but I thought this is interesting, right? Out of all the shiny objects that you've seen over the past 20 years of new tools, technology, sales processes, ways of doing things, what have been the biggest just busts? Things that everyone was excited about and no one talks about anymore?
Oh, there have been so many. Remember when Periscope came out? That was that Twitter tool. That was it. That was the bomb. That was going to do everything. That was going to be it. We've had so many of these tools, and I can't, wow, this is going to do all of your search. It's going to populate your databases. It's going to do everything. There have been so many of those that have been absolutely bust. But you know what's funny? Out of every bust comes a tool that works. And this is the whole thing that I said earlier about being on the bleeding edge. It's easy for us to get caught up on bleeding edge tools. And then what happens is they don't pan out. But you got to kind of pay a little bit of attention to them because there's going to be a third, fourth, fifth generation that's going to come along. And then it's going to absolutely work. Look at some of the early CRM systems. I mean, Goldmine, some of those things. Those are just pathetic CRM systems. But you look at where CRM has come to today. You look at some of the sales call evaluation tools that I won't name any names here for companies, but they're plenty out there that, evaluate our sales calls and record the video and assess all that. Early on, it was really nothing more than a recording. And now as we move along, it gets really better and better. It really does begin. But here's what we got to be cautious of. LLMs, large language learning models. And it's very easy to get caught up in big data. we get so much data we don't know what to do with. At the end of the day, it's you and I having a conversation. That's what sales is. It's you. And AI tools, if I can send a bad email to one person, there are plenty of AI tools that now allow me to send that one bad email to 1,000 people. Guess what? Now I've had the chance to really prove my stupidity. 1,000 people. Congratulations. Congratulations. You've done a great job. Yeah.
The conversational analysis tools that was the one that stuck in my mind as I asked that question. So I'm glad you picked up on it as well, because this now is a kind of a reboot of the podcast. I've not recorded an interview. I've been on other people's podcasts, but I've not recorded an interview myself for nearly 3 years. And 3 years ago, that was it. It was. I'll try to avoid naming brands as well. Seems as you set the precedent for that, which is fair enough. But one or two of them, the darlings of the industry. Now no one talks about them anymore. And at the time, I was on the record saying that it was somewhat nonsensical. Record a call. It's not AI, it's machine learning. Says you talked for this, they talked for that. Industry standard is this or this. Well, and you hit the nail on the head just then, Mark. We don't want industry standards. We want what is relevant for the person that you're speaking to. And that is very difficult, if not impossible, for unless there is eventually a general AI that has some kind of consciousness or has some kind of deep intrinsic knowledge of human nature, the sales process, the business acumen to have these conversations. Those numbers are meaningless. And those conversational tools are now, I never see them talked about on LinkedIn. Now it's all AI and everything else. Hopefully they've gathered so much data that they can innovate and leverage all of the LMM kind of like tools and machine learning and AI content that's out there right now to actually give insightful data, perhaps in real time, to these conversations. But they were the biggest bust from when I stopped doing these interviews to now as I kind of restart doing them again.
Yeah. There's something very interesting. AI, artificial intelligence. Average intelligence. Okay, keep this in mind. All it's doing is it's curating and going through all this data that's out there. Now, we get to the next generation of AI and things begin to change and so forth. But we are still at just the entry point of where we are with AI. And one of the things about AI, and this is what you gotta put into perspective. It's like average temperatures. Average temperature in London over the course of the year is X. Well, how many days is it actually X? No, it's the average. There are days that it's plus and minus by dramatic ranges, dramatic differences. The weather is dramatically different. And you have to take that into account. And that's what you have to realize, that AI, what is it doing? It's delivering the average. And yet you and I, we have our sales conversations, however they take place, whether they be on Zoom, Teams, email, text message, social media, whatever, with one individual person. And that's one interaction. That's completely different than average. And that's what we have to keep in mind. It's too easy to get caught up in becoming average.
I think I've had a real poignant realization with the AI stuff at the moment, because one of the companies I'm a co-founder in, we're using AI generated cold outreach at relative scale at this point. We're booking 3 to 5 meetings a week, but people jump into those meetings and they are interested. They're intrigued with the curiosity that we've built to the product, the service, but the level of trust is at an all-time low. Because they whether it's a gut feeling that because these emails, I won't go too deep into it to bore yourself, Mark, or the audience, but they are written via prompts. We're scraping these small business owners' websites to find out more about them, and then those prompts are fed back into into Claude, who's doing the writing. So they are completely bespoke. They are as good as a shitty SDR, basically, like a huge.
Right. Yeah.
But obviously, at scale, you don't have to manage these people. You don't have to manage a team of 25 people to get the scale out there. So it's booking meetings. But the level of trust, the level of rapport, then it almost takes a higher level individual, someone with a higher level skill set, to bring it back up to baseline just in the first 5 minutes of the call. I thought that was a really interesting phenomenon of, you kind of book in the meetings with once you've built the systems with less effort, but then you've got to put probably more effort in than if you'd have just done it from a one-on-one personalized outreach perspective in the first place. You've got to put more effort in just to get back to the starting point to have an adult, intelligent business conversation.
Yeah, I've got some thoughts on that. First of all, you have to understand that trust is the currency of business. Stop and think about this. We only do business with people and companies that we trust. In the absence of sheer, oh no, I'm going to die unless I do this. I don't know what I'm doing. But think about this. And in the absence of trust, price becomes everything. Whoa, stop and think about that for a moment. In the absence of trust, price becomes everything. So if I'm going into a conversation and I've got zero level of trust, I'm at a low price point and I'm fighting an uphill battle all along. One of the challenges that I see, and we're almost coming back into SaaS 2.0, software as a service. And we had this golden age here that just ended over probably about the last year or so, where we had tremendous number of SaaS tools that were really nothing more than SaaS tools being sold by salespeople to help them do their job. Can I say what we were doing was we were selling the picks and the shovels to the people going out to mining for gold? They never found gold, but they sure bought my picks and shovels. We are on the verge of seeing this SaaS focused, this sales focused SaaS in it's a new sheet, new clothing, but believe me, it's still a wolf under there. And all we're doing is we are just selling tools to salespeople to help them do their job. In other words, we're selling the sizzle. Hey, now I got no problem with that. It's called sales. I got no problem with that. But at the end of the day, we have to ultimately create a solution. Let me give you a very quick example. It's a little bit like, hey, you come out of the holidays and you put on a few pounds of you're just not in the physical shape that you want to be. So you join the gym.
You're telling me, you're describing me right now.
Hey, I ain't gonna call you out, dude. Come on, man. I'm nice. So you join the gym, but the problem is you got to go to the gym. You actually got to go to the gym, and so many gym memberships never get activated. And so, I mean, this is where I say it's easy for us to get caught up in sales tools. But if they're on the bleeding edge, guess what? I run the risk of bleeding to death.
Yep. I think there's a great area in the middle where you probably shouldn't play. And then playing either side of this where you are using some of the cutting edge tools, but then you're doing all the stuff that has been proven to work over decades, which is potentially personal brand for salespeople is, I'm not saying that the audience should become influencers, but becoming known in your industry, writing in industry magazines or newspapers, doing some presentations at the conference that that your industry is based around, being involved with associations, things like that, so that when you do the outreach, you're then a legitimate person that people want to engage with. I think playing both sides of this is valuable. I think playing in the middle and just doing what everyone else is doing, which is trying to use these tools to do which you said at the top of the show, I'll say it less poetically, but sending more shit out just to hope something that sticks. I think that's the danger here.
Here's the whole situation. I'm going to push back a little bit. I think we do have to be an influencer in our space. This is why we have to define our space very tight. We have to ideal customer profile, ICP, because our reputation arrives before we do. Our reputation always arrives before we do, because no customer books a meeting with anybody without first checking them out on the internet. What's the internet have to say about them and their company? So again, our reputation. But it is important, because here's the whole thing. There's so much noise out there. There is so much noise. And I'm going to challenge salespeople. The key to unlocking the puzzle today is by having better questions and better stories. Better questions, better stories. It's not the information you share. It is not the information. We are in the age of having to de-educate customers because they don't want to engage with salespeople. So they're doing all this research themselves. But the problem is they're many times doing the wrong research. So we have to de-educate the customer. Now, your problem is you can't walk in and say, you're stupid. Let me tell you. No, no. We de-educate them through the questions we ask and the stories we share. And the key with the story is this. I've got to create that emotional hook that allows you to become part where you see yourself in the story. That's when, okay, wow. And guess what happens? It creates a higher level of trust. The questions I begin to ask is that I de-educate through the questions I ask, not through the information I share.
How does one build the vocabulary to be able to build a story like that? Is it customer interviews, or is it research? Is it other, I know we're kind of bashing on tools there, but are there tools that can help with this? How does one build that language?
Well, this is very simple because, again, AI tools, I mean, whether it be Claude, whether it be, any of these tools, Perplexity, I mean, there's so many of them out there. It's just simple doing basic research on the industry. And again, before I go in on a sales call, I can put that company, I can put that industry into Chat GPT or something or anything, doesn't matter, and come back out with something. I can put the individual and I can do some research, very, very simple. But here's what I'm going to challenge salespeople. This is where we really fall off. We've got to become masters of our craft. And that means I can't be master of the universe. Sorry. That's a Marvel character. I'm never going to upset that Marvel. I'm not going to be that Marvel character. What I want to be is the master of my space, my little finite space. And if I can be seen as the expert, then I have the ability. And again, I'm going to do that just because the more I know about it, the more questions I can ask. And I'm going to see experiences. I'm going to be on sales calls. I'm going to share them. Last week I was helping a company do very similar to what you saw. And here was a question they asked, and I'm curious what your thoughts on that. Or, we just got done with an implementation. They're seeing incredible results. But what's interesting is they had some challenges. Now, I'm not just waving the success flag. What I'm talking about are the challenges here, the issues that they had. Because again, in this world of artificial intelligence, I got to create authentic insights. AI, another way to look at AI, authentic insights. So I've got to be authentic, and that means I've got to be genuine and show you a few scars, show you a few, oops, here's what didn't go right. Because you know what? The customer's looking for a reason to not to talk to you. Period. Because again, the solution is waiting for them out on the internet. So if I can be seen as a genuine, authentic person, they're going to be willing to stay engaged with me because they're going to see me as totally counter everything else out there. This is why I say in this world of yin, we have to be the yang. We have to be the yang. And the authentic relationship, this is where I say it's follow-up. Go back to what I said at the beginning. It's amazing how things have changed but haven't changed.
We haven't discussed this before the call, but one of my big thesis, and we're just about to drop the training in our training program over at salesman.com, is the training is called Becoming a Market of One. And it's literally what you just described. And I'm branding it this way rather than become an influencer because I don't want the audience to go and grow a big audience on LinkedIn that are never going to buy the product. It's a waste of everyone's time and their energy. There should be that there are better things, more productive things they can do than just have the kind of hits of dopamine and serotonin when people like a comment on the posts, especially on LinkedIn as a platform. So this idea of becoming a market of one. So niching down your your personal value proposition so small that you're not competing with anyone else. And then, as you said, the buyers are out there looking for this content. And so if you're the person they find when they are searching for content on a specific problem, even if you solve other problems as well, all we're trying to do here is generate the initial meeting, then they're going to come to you. The trust is there. You can build a nice little audience. If you've got to close 2 deals a month, you only need an audience of 200 people. And that's the next 3 years of pipeline. Absolutely nailed. And it all comes down to niching down so specific that you are a market of one, putting out content, building an audience, essentially being an influencer, but for a very small kind of micro niche. And that's just discipline. That is insight. That is everything that you're describing there, Mark, and just doing it for a period of time until you become recognized. And then it's very difficult. You've got a moat around you then. It's very difficult for people to compete. And that takes pricing not completely off the table, but pricing becomes secondary because the cliche analogy, you don't want to hire the second best brain surgeon if you need brain surgery. You want to hire the best, right? So it kind of falls into that kind of way of thinking. I think that plus, leveraging your celebrity in that micro niche with some automation and tools to get the word out there, to not to create the awareness, but to leverage it. I think that playing on both ends of the sales scale is kind of what the top performers will be doing over the next 12, 18 months.
I love the path you're going down. And that is truly what I think top performers do today. I mean, top performers do today because in their respective space, they are known as the go-to person. And that's absolutely spot on. There was a gentleman about 15 years ago, Joe Calloway, who wrote the book Category of One. And what you're doing picks up on that. So kudos to that. Because again, I think that's where we have to go. And this is what challenges, drives me crazy. So many salespeople say, well, I've got to throw the net wide. I got to throw the net wide in the water because I don't know what's out there. Wrong. We have become, broadcast media has died. Then we went to narrowcast. Now we're into niche cast. Now we're into really solo cast. And it has to be that we have to be seen as that market of one. So I love what you're doing. But what does that mean? That means you are not responding to the marketplace. You are creating the marketplace. It is your thinking. It is your insights that are shaping the direction of where this space is going. That to me is something to get pretty excited about. That is really cool. So kudos to you for going down that path. And I'll tell you what, that makes AI incredibly important because it's going to help bring you the insights, but it also runs the risk of being a giant distraction because like we've said earlier, all that shiny object and it's bleeding edge stuff. Got to be very careful.
Yep, I agree. You've got to be careful with it. With that, Mark, we'll wrap things up there, mate, because I'm conscious that we've not got into discipline, we've not really got into process, we've not got into the mindset side of things. These are all things I wanted to chat to you about. We've kind of got off on a beautiful tangent and brought it back towards the end of the show. So obviously we'll have you on in the future to get into these details, these things in more detail. But with that, mate, tell us more about what you're up to, the books, anything you want to share with the audience.
Well, yeah, the book, I mean, again, A Mind for Sales. I still believe yesterday I was speaking to a group of several hundred salespeople here in Houston, Texas. And the whole focus was on the mindset, because again, your mindset going into a sales call predetermines the results you get coming out. And mindset and discipline, a couple things that I crave on. Because again, you look at top performers, they're zeroed in it. So I am going all in on both of those. That's it. And specifically at the top of the funnel, prospecting. Because I firmly believe this. The reason the vast majority of deals don't close is because we have been not validating them, not qualifying them right. And I'm on a mission this year to improve the discovery phase. For years, the discovery phase was get past it as quickly as possible so we get to the demo. We get to the demo. And I go, no, I don't want, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a rant here for a second. I don't want a demo because here's the problem. So many times what happens is you get this demo and you start showing the customer things and a confused customer does not buy. But that's what a demo does. I want the demo to be only on those very specific pieces that the customer's having a challenge with. Don't show them other things. Because that's what, remember, the number one competitor we have is no decision, right? No decision. And I really don't think it's no decision. It's stalled decision. Because the customer says, you know what? I need to look at some more options. I need to look at more things. Wow, this is really interesting. This is great, man. And you've helped me out. Sorry, you're not going to get the sale. I got to do some more work. And guess what? You lose. So I want to have a very tight discovery phase to where when I am doing the demo, you are leaning forward, leaning into it. And I'm only showing you those aspects that are absolutely spot on for what you need. And then I can come out of that demo and close the deal. The close ratio between demo is, and actually it is pathetic. We as salespeople have done a great job of screwing up a 2-car funeral. Just saying.
Dude, I like this. I should have a think about this myself. I don't think so I've been running salesman.com for 10 years. I don't think I've ever positioned anything that I'm trying to achieve or trying to change in the marketplace or trying to help people with as a mission. I think that shows that you actually give a shit about this. I think that's really important to kind of call out for the audience.
I love it because remember what we sell. Who cares what we sell? I don't care. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll calm down. I've only had one cup of coffee so far today. I don't care what we sell. That is only the medium for us to influence and impact people. That's what our goal in life is. Because if I can help others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible, then I've done my mission. I've done my work. That's my goal. The tool that I'm selling is just the medium. I want to influence and impact people to help them see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. If that doesn't jazz you, if that doesn't get you excited in the morning, then hey, get out of sales. Get a different job.
Well, with that, Mark, I'll link to the books, your website, your training course, everything that you do over at salesman.com in the show notes over there. And as always, mate, I appreciate you. I appreciate the energy that you bring to these calls, these interviews. And I want to thank you again for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much. Hey, great selling.